All right, guys. Our next guest is one of the most exciting guys to watch in the lightweight division, repping CKB and New Zealand. One of our favorites, man. Always a fun chat. Dan, the Hangman Hooker, welcome back to Submission Radio. We were just saying, you're wearing a shirt and this shocked us. Normally you're shirtless for these interviews.
She's getting cold out in New Zealand. I don't think I can if you want, but now I'm at the gym now. It's a little bit inappropriate.
Save it for the OnlyFans, Dan.
Yeah, well, I had the Israel up. I said, "How's that going, bro? Showing your bum a little bit on there?" Or I said, "You start getting a bit of cash for that. I might have to start my own."
Let's be honest, all of us in the MMA industry will have OnlyFans accounts by the end of 2021, so it's going to be a thing. Dude, how's life been back? Sorry, go on.
Is it MMA Fighters Retirement Fund, I think?
Yeah, that's right. Sponsored by Venom and Reebok or whatever else. Dude, how's life been back in New Zealand? Because it took a long time to come back, but that would have made it so much sweeter once you touched down.
Nah, I pretty much hit the ground running once I got back here. I was training over there, staying fit in Dubai for the 4 weeks. Obviously, the quarantine's that is what it is. Sitting around, it's hard for a professional athlete to sit on their ass for a couple of weeks. So that's hard, but it is what it is. That's what you kind of sign up for, and that's not going anywhere. We'll be doing that for the next year or 2 years, I'd say. But yeah, just hit the ground running, back in my gym, back coaching my guys. Plenty of fights coming up, plenty of fights been. So I've been busy in the gym at City. With the rest of the team that's there, Carlos is back, Kai's back, Israel's back, so it's good to have the boys back in the camp as well. Just in the gym, improving, working.
Obviously, a lot of important things to do once you first come home. There's seeing the family and the children and all of that stuff. But most importantly, what was the first takeaways place that you went to once you got into town? I know there's a regular spot you'd hit up that you would have missed while you were away.
I'm trying to think now. It's kind of just more for me. It's meals that
you don't have a fish and chip spot, a sausage roll spot, a hot pie spot.
I've got
kind of New Zealander, are you?
I reckon.
I was eating good. That's the thing about being a lightweight. I live pretty good. It's not like I have to diet real hard to get down to the weight. I just kind of I was cooked for myself, really, and the weight kind of falls off when I get down. So it's back when I used to do the bigger cuts at featherweight, then you kind of get the hunger cravings, and it's when you start craving foods you don't even like that much. I don't even have a sweet tooth, but then once you're cutting down and you've been dieting for 8 weeks, you're just man, I'd eat that bag of sugar over there. You just you start craving things that aren't even you don't generally like. I'm not a sweet tooth, and I just donuts and cake, and you go crazy. But at lightweight, because it's not a hard cut for me at all, it's you don't really miss anything, so it's quite easy. It's quite easy for me to get back on a roll, and I can eat in camp. I can still eat my fish and chips and burgers and things like that. So it's not something I really miss.
Yeah, you're like Homer Simpson with the sugar. First you get the sugar, then you get the power. Follow Dan for more recipes. Bag of sugar.
Bag of sugar.
How is the body feel? How's the body feeling, man? Since the fight?
Oh, good. That's that was a funny thing about that one. Just getting clipped and it getting finished without a lot of damage. Other fights where the Felder fight, Poirier fight, other fights I've been in where it goes the full distance and you're just getting hit a couple hundred times. It was just kind of got clipped. It was I would say it was a flash knockdown. But I went down and it was I never went unconscious. Had it been boxing or kickboxing, I feel I would have been able to get back up and get an 8 count, but it's just the nature of the sport. You get clipped. Especially early on when he's got a full tank and he can follow it up, then you're going to get the stoppage in a situation like that. There's no standing 8 count or anything like that. So, man, that's the funny thing about it is that I was back in the gym and felt pretty good straight away. I took a day off, but then I was, in the gym doing exercise, doing wrestling, doing fitness and things like that. So the body pulled up real well. That's like the difficult thing about it. Like I still for, my own sake, avoided contact for a couple of months once I did arrive back. But now I'm back to full training, full sparring, and things like that.
How did you move past that fight? I know afterwards you were pretty devastated, but then you were kind enough to jump on with us and you were pretty upbeat and stuff. But I imagine sort of, inside you still would have been feeling, certain things about that fight. What was you kind of joked about like, when you lose, you just want to not do the sport anymore and do something else. But like, what is that mental process like for you?
Oh, it's like, to me, yeah, it's been like funny. Like I just took the time, like I said in the last interview, I just took the time to actually experience the emotion, because that's something new to me as well. That's a position that I've never been in before in my career. I've never been knocked out before. I've never been clipped in the chin and dropped like that and finished before. So it's a completely new experience to me. So it was interesting. It didn't I was like upset about the loss and upset about how quick, but definitely not like I never got like depressed about it. I never got that upset about it. And I think that's like one of the biggest things that I've figured out is that I didn't lose any self-respect from that fight. It's not, I feel like if I was in a position where I'd quit or look for a way out, then I'll definitely lose self-respect. But being knocked out, being caught, I never lost any self-respect, or I never lost any respect with the people around me, with the people in the people in the gym and my coaches and things like that. Like no one, like you don't lose any respect from a thing like that. If you follow the sport long enough, you know that it does happen from time to time, things like this. And you have no control. It's out of my hands. It's out of my control, but it's how you respond to it, than anything. So I feel like I've moved past it. It's just one of those things, and it's out of my control, and there's no point holding on to it for too long. But yeah, it's not like the biggest deal in the world to me, if you know what I mean.
And I think the way that you handled it as well was very inspiring. And I think a lot of people really took something away from that, Dan, as well. So I think you made a lot of new fans in just the way that you handled the loss, which was really cool. Let's talk about what's next, because I know you mentioned the body's feeling pretty good. Has the UFC put any names across your desk yet about a possible return?
Nah, I haven't had. Oh, they're probably just leaving me alone. They're probably knew it's a couple of months, and yeah, it's an interesting. It's an interesting time for the lightweight division coming up. There's a lot of fights booked, especially like the guys ahead of me. For me, it's more when my team's ready to go, I'll go. I'm not holding on to any names in particular, whether they're ranked higher than me, whether they're ranked lower than me. I know, like from a practical aspect, I'm coming off 2 losses, so I'm not in a position to go calling my shots anymore. I need to get back on a win streak until I'm in a position like that again. For me, it comes down to a timing thing. It's when my team's ready to go, when my coaches are free to go, and when we can get, whether Israel fights or Volk fights. I know Brad's looking for a quick turnaround. When we can get a crew of us to head over and move as a unit and move as a team, I feel like that's an important thing. Like I really learned the lessons I need to learn outside of the cage from those last 2 results, and to rush back in there and go off for myself and do these crazy things again would be a huge mistake. So when my team's ready to go, when they're ready to mobilize, I'm staying ready, and I'll be good to go.
Got to get Huge on the phone, and Dennis got to be like, give the green light, Huge. We want to see Dan back in action.
Send in the troops.
You ask him when he says I'm gonna listen to my coaches for once, and then when they say it's good to go, I'll go.
I saw that you were sort of you didn't call him out, but you were eyeing maybe Justin Gaethje or RDA. Are those sort of two guys that interest you?
Nah, I said Gaethje would go fight. I said it would be stupid of him. No, I didn't say. I said it's not like a good choice for him when he can sit and wait, get the results of like Poirier McGregor, what's the other one? Chandler, Oliveira, and then he'll like fight a winner or loser. Like he gets a big name fight just for waiting. So it would kind of be silly to go back and fight a guy on a 2-fight skid. Just for the sake of staying busy. I don't feel like he's that kind of guy. So that's why I said it would be a good fight. Like anyone ranked above me, it would be a good fight for me. But yeah, fights that make sense. I like the RDA fight, like former champ. I respect his skill set. I respect the way he carries himself. And I feel like that is a fight that makes a little more sense if he can't get one of the bigger fights that he's chasing to kind of take him up on his offer.
Yeah, 100%. There's actually a lot of crazy things going on in the division right now. There's some big fights. There's also some chaos. We have to get your thoughts on that. But just quickly, you mentioned offer. I want to remind everybody about the sweet offer from Manscaped that obviously gives you the best grooming tool on the market, the Lawnmower 3.0, to, keep your balls nice and smooth, but also the Manscaped Refined Cologne, the Manscaped Signature Scent. It is light, approachable, and gentlemanly. It is calm and inviting with a citrus burst and a woody, masculine finish. Who doesn't want to smell like that? Beautiful bottle, hypoallergenic, vegan, and they're giving you 20% off store-wide with the code submission, giving you a great deal on all your personal grooming products, your nose hair trimmers, the Lawnmower 3.0, and now you can smell great or even better than you used to. Isn't that right, Dennis?
That's right, man. Jump onto it. They're our official sponsor and they're a life changer. Manscaped is the best. And also, speaking of the best, Cass, the Ridge. I want to talk about the wallet, and Casper has it right there. That bad boy holds up to 12 cards, plus room for cash, over 30 colors and styles, 40,000 5-star reviews, and the durable material means each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You can buy one wallet and carry it for life. The Ridge guys are so confident that you like it, they'll let you even return it if something goes wrong. So guys, make sure to jump onto the Ridge. That is ridge.com/submission. Use the code word submission. You get 10% off today and you get free worldwide shipping and returns. And if you guys already have a wallet, you already have a Ridge wallet, why not get one of these amazing bags? Perfect for travel now that the borders are opening up and you guys can go to all the destinations. The Ridge has you covered. And Casper, quickly, speaking of people getting you covered, there are some big fights this weekend. And in the highly anticipated boxing match between MMA veteran Ben Askren and YouTuber Paul Jake, our friends at MyBookie are giving you guys an opportunity to place a single wager of $20 on the fight, and you'll get a free $20 bet for UFC 261. How good is that deal, Cass? But it gets even sweeter. If that isn't enticing enough, if you back the former Olympian, you'll get a 2-for-1 payout with a MyBookie odds boost on Ben Askren to win the fight outright. So make sure to go to MyBookie right now. Use the code word submission to take an advantage of an up to $1,000 bonus on your first deposit. That's promo code submission. Go to MyBookie right now. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. But Dan, it's interesting because the division is really going off at the moment. There's all sorts of things going on. We're going to get your thoughts on a few of them. You briefly touched on this Conor and Dustin thing, so let's start off with that. What do you make of this feud that sort of boiled over? There's donation apparently not being sent. Now Conor doesn't want to do this third fight with Dustin. What's your reaction to this whole thing?
I can definitely see both parts, both sides of it, from in terms of Conor, you look at Conor, he is still in that position to call the shots. So you can say what you want to say. You can say what you want to say. Oh, Dustin knocked him out, so he's now the biggest star. That's not how it works. With Conor McGregor, he's still a massive star. If he pulls out of that fight and Dustin has to fight someone else, Dustin's looking at a big chunk of change coming out of his pocket. Conor gets to pick the fights. Conor gets to call his shots because he's the draw. He's the guy that kind of draws the names. And a lot of guys make the mistake of I know from the inside that Conor only wants to fight guys. He changes your life when he fights you. You get a couple of $1 million in your bank account. For fighters like us, that changes your life. So you need to understand, why would he do that? Why would he change a life of a guy he hates or a guy that says some stupid shit about him? Like, I know old Justin Gaethje was like this close to getting that fight across the line, like this close to getting that sign. And then he said something about Conor being a bad husband. Conor pulls out and then turns around and fights Dustin. It makes complete sense to me. Why would he change Justin Gaethje's life? Why would he make Justin Gaethje a multi-millionaire if he's saying that he's a bad husband, or he's saying he's a bad father, or he's discrediting him as a man? Like, as a man, being a husband, being a good father, being a good husband are two things that you take very, very seriously. So, yeah, someone calls him into questions. Why would he change your life? But there's plenty of other names for him to fight in the division. Like, he's still, when a guy's fighting for the lightweight title, Michael Chandler's fighting Charles Oliveira for the lightweight title, and then he offers to fight Conor instead of that. That shows you the power of the guy. That shows you then and there that you get more money still to this day for fighting Conor McGregor than for fighting for the title and being the champion. That shows you that he's still the kingmaker and still holds the power in this kind of situation.
The only thing is, I agree with what you're saying. The only thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, like if Conor Conor lost the fight, so it's kind of in his interest to, get that rematch. I mean, I think that's why he wanted the rematch. And then the other thing is, if he does say pivot and then fight somebody else, the narrative is going to be Conor, withdrew from the fight, which he's never done before. He's kind of famous for it, always showing up. And then he withdraws from the fight because of essentially trash talk, which would be just a bizarre situation, given some of the feuds that he's had. And now it's kind of like, well, you said something that I didn't like, so I'm not going to fight you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like that fight's going to go through. I feel like he's still going to fight Dustin, and they'll get it. Like, I'm highly confident that fight still goes ahead, and we don't end up in that situation. It's more from when I saw it, it's more of him just showing the power that he does have. Like, he even though the contract is signed, even though everything's set, he can still say, I'm just not going to show up. And you go back to he said, you go back to your original contract, you go back to your original money, which will be a fraction of the money that he's getting to fight Conor.
It's interesting because so many stars in the UFC, but I think really only Conor, Khabib, and maybe like back in the day, like a Brock Lesnar could say, nah, to the UFC, this is what's going to happen. And I think he's one of the guys in the division that could do it. Just quickly, though, he is looking for a new opponent, Dan. He's throwing out names. He's asking people to suggest people. I know people are throwing your name in the mix. Don't act like you're surprised. So what's your message to Conor if he sees this as to why you're the man for this job?
Oh, you want me? When he's originally messaged me, I hadn't looked on Twitter yet. I hadn't logged onto Twitter yet. And then he messaged, hey, Dan, you want to come on the show tomorrow? And I was like, oh, yeah. I said, the boys want to have a chat. The boys want to have a catch up. Oh, yeah, cool. I said, yeah, sweet. We'll talk tomorrow. Then I go on Twitter and I see the big drama that's going on with Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. And I said, these buggers want me to call Conor McGregor. This is going to be the headline of the episode. Dan Hooker calls out Conor McGregor for a fight. And I was like, I could smell it. I knew exactly.
Dan Hooker won't take his shirt off for the boys.
Gonna have to take a new headline. In a complete practical sense, obviously I would take that fight. But from my interest, but that's a silly fight for him. That's a dangerous fight. You've had a guy in the title fight call him out for a fight. You've had guys on win streaks call him out for a fight. Guys ranked ahead of me asked to fight him and call him out for a fight. I don't feel like right now I'm in a position for that fight to make sense. And if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. And that fight for him, from a financial perspective, doesn't make the kind of sense it needs to. I'm not worried at all. I'm not worried. I'm not holding on to that fight, and I'm not holding on like, oh man, I need to do it right now, and I need to like, I'm not desperate. Like I'm confident in my ability. I'm confident in my skill set. I'm confident that I'm gonna get back on a win streak. I'm confident that I'm gonna win these next few fights, and then be in a position to either fight for a title or fight for whoever's the next superstar, the next big name in the division. But for now, I just don't feel like that fight makes a lot of sense.
Well, he wanted to fight Diego Sanchez, Dan, and people are suggesting your name. So you never know. If you get that phone call, remember to split that $2 million with the boys. Just quickly as well, before we get off the fight, we want to get your thoughts on the title fight as well. How do you think this third fight between Conor and Dustin goes? And do you think him doing the trash talk and coming in with animosity, sort of like he did in that first fight, gives Conor any kind of edge? Because he's known for sort of dismantling people mentally before he goes into that octagon. And that was missing in that rematch with Dustin, where they were really friendly and he was sort of hugging him at the weigh-ins.
Yeah, it's funny how he's kind of like more shied away from that aspect, more shied away from that. He does seem to do better under that kind of state when he's chasing conflict and getting under his opponent's skin and riling them up. He did seem to do well. So it is interesting that, you know, Conor Dustin starts some kind of drama and he doesn't go with it. He doesn't want to create that kind of animosity. I feel like he does better in that kind of position, in that kind of mental frame, when he can rattle and get under his skin. I could see like Dustin like out back before the press conference and things like that. He was just as interested as the rest of us as to what Conor was going to say, or whether Conor was going to go on the offensive, or whether Conor was going to come under his skin. And I feel like he was pretty relieved when Conor didn't kind of start rattling his cage. So I feel like it would do Conor. I feel like he performs better when he can rattle his opponent's cage, because it is a huge asset to him.
And just quickly, Dan, we were overdue to catch up regardless. So let's just get that out of the way.
We had no idea.
You need a new headline now. I trashed a headline.
What is Twitter? What is Twitter?
I told you. Well, Dennis told you. The headline's going to be Dan Hooker refuses to take his shirt off for the boys. May or may not start OnlyFans. That's a juicy headline.
That's a good headline. May or may not.
Dan Hooker approved. Okay, so the other thing we got to ask you about is your good friend Charlie Olives and then Michael Chandler. They're fighting for the belt. What do you think of that fight? And how do you see that one going?
I kind of feel like that's like a good stylistic matchup for Chandler. Like he is a strong defensive wrestler. He does have good jiu-jitsu. Like early on in his career, most of his finishes were submissions. So he is, for a wrestler, has some pretty sound and pretty strong jiu-jitsu, like heavy puncher, low stance, low to the ground. So it is like stylistically a leaning towards Michael in a difficult matchup, but you know, stylistically, I was a terrible matchup and I got knocked out in the first round. So it's hard to you can't really take that to the bank.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with it all. And also, while we're getting previews and stuff, and you know we love your previews, Dan, so we got to ask you this one too. This weekend, we've got Robert Whittaker taking on Kelvin Gastelum in the fight that should have happened all the way back in Melbourne. And I'm wondering, what's your take on this fight as well? Because Kelvin Gastelum is the type of guy that on any given night could be a problem for anyone in that middleweight division. Robert Whittaker has proven that, you know, he's obviously a former champion and can take most people out. But who do you sort of think is going to win this weekend?
I'm a big Reaper fan. I'm a Whittaker fan. I'm going my boy Rob all the way. I think he's gonna just our muscle, our skill, and our class. You know, Kelvin's looked pretty flat in his last few fights. Rob's looked good. Rob's looked sharp. Yeah, I'm looking for Rob to dominate that fight.
And then what happens if Rob goes in there according to you know, your prediction? Do you think we get Rob versus Israel next? Darren Till unfortunately got injured. He was meant to be the guy. There's not a lot of options there for Israel, even at middleweight, let alone fresh contenders.
Yeah, well, I know Izzy wants to fight. I know Izzy wants to get back in there, and Izzy wants to fight. Yeah, I feel like if Rob wins again, which I feel like he will, that's the fight to make. Rob versus Israel too. He's back on a good. Well, that'll be that's a two fight win streak, and yeah, I feel like that fight makes a lot of sense. 3-5 win streak. Yeah, that fight makes a lot of sense.
And obviously a huge fight for everybody down here in Australia and New Zealand. I know you're a Reaper fan, but also Israel is your teammate. At that first fight, he was just able to dominate Rob and get that big win. How do you think part 2 would go with Robert Whittaker and Israel Adesanya?
Oh, Rob's dangerous, man. Like Rob's a difficult fight for anyone. He's like a very skillful fighter. That's a hard fight for anyone in the middleweight division. Yeah, that's like the only situation where I will pick against Robert Whittaker is when he's fighting Israel Adesanya. Under no other circumstances would I pick against him.
All right, well, let's finish this thing off with you, Dan. I know you're waiting for the general Eugene Behrman to sort of name when the team is going to infiltrate the next card, but give us sort of the ideal timeline for you. I know your body's feeling good. You're waiting to see what happens in the division. And by the way, you've got other names like Tony Ferguson, Beneil Dariush fighting as well. So many fun matchups for you. That division is just absolutely stacked. And of course, fans will tune into any fight that you'll be a part of because you're definitely one of the most exciting guys in that division. Ideally, what is the timeline for you, though, if you're thinking about it for 2021? Are you looking at possibly, getting another couple of fights in? Are you looking at that July-ish sort of time period? Or could it even be a little bit later, depending on what happens with the team?
Oh, for me, okay, I'm ready to go. June, July would be perfect. July would be outstanding to get a fight on. Yeah, it's just down to the big fellow. When he points me in the right direction and tells me to shoot, I'll swing him and let him go. So that's all we're waiting for. July, perfect. And it comes on whoever's ready to go on that day.
Conor McGregor's ready to go in July, Dan. Trying to have another crack at the headline.
You're hanging on to that headline. Now I'm going out of my way to trash your headline.
You only get so many characters now.
Yeah. We got to come up with something else now. Follow the man on Twitter, Dan the Hangman. Of course, on Insta, Dan Hangman and his Gym Combat Academy in Auckland. Always a fun chat with you, Dan. Always legendary. Can't wait to do it again soon. When some Conor McGregor news breaks, so we got to get you. No, just kidding. Can't wait to chat to you any day of the week. You're always welcome. Thanks for your time, Dan.
Cheers, Les. No, thank you.